Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends. I'm your host, Ray Shasho, keyboardist and composer, or should I say multi-instrumentalist, Rob Reed, known for his work with Magenta, Kompendium and Sanctuary solo albums, has once again joined forces for a new Cyan album titled Pictures from the Other Side. The second album from the RESURRECTED project is due out on November 17th. The new album contains 6 songs, including the epic 17-minute track Nosferatu. The CD is accompanied by a DVD with a full 5.1 surround mix of the album and a live acoustic performance of songs from the previous album for King and Country. Cyan was originally formed by Robert Reed when in school back in 1983 after recording some demos at a local studio. The band went through separate ways. Years later, those demos led to the release of For King and Country. It was the first of 3 Cyan albums released in the 1990s before the project was shelved, and Rob went on to form the mighty Magenta. 20 years later, Rob Reed, along with a killer lineup, decided to brush off the cobwebs and successfully released a completely reworked version of the For King and Country album. Cyan has since performed at the 2023 Night of the Prog Fest in Germany and at the 2022 Summer's End and Fusion Fest in the UK. Please welcome UK multi-instrumentalist and composer best known as a member of Magenta and Cyan, Robert Reed, to Interviewing the Legends. Hello, Robert.
Hi there. Hi there. Good to speak to you.
It's so cool that, usually I put prog bands in this category. You guys belong to multi-bands nowadays, and you guys are a family, and you bring each other onto one another's albums, and it's so cool.
Well, yeah, and I'm very lucky that I'm able to create music 24/7. It's my day job and my evening job, and I'm forever grateful to be able to do that. And but to do that, I've got to have more than one band, and for my sanity as well, I've got to have more than one band, because if you've just got one band, it'll drive me mad, just to do that all the time and to make an album from this. I like to go make a Magenta record and then go away and make my solo album and then go and do a Cyan album. And each time I go to these projects, I'm revitalized and I've got energy, and it just makes up the whole, basically, and saying it allows me to do music all day and every day, which I love.
You guys are so full of music. You just need to branch out in many different ways, and I appreciate that.
But I like so many styles of music, and there's so much I want to do. That's the problem with it. It's like, I every day I come in the studio, I'm excited with the blank canvas, and going back to when I started Cyan back when I was in school. I had no equipment. I had like a Casio keyboard and a cassette recorder, and that's how I made my demos. And it was like on cassettes and stuff. And I could only dream of having the equipment that I've got today in my studio. And and that's partly the reason why I wanted to go back to these songs which I made back in the 90s.
Right.
Bring all the expertise and all the equipment and everything I've learned over the last 20 years or 20 or 30 years to revitalize and to make these songs like they should have been, really. So I've loved it.
I'm going to go over the album first.
Yeah.
I loved it. And to call you guys just a prog band, I hate when they just do that, because you are so much more than a prog band. You guys are very eclectic, and you can put the band in many categories. And this is what I said about the albums, and you're going to be a little bit surprised, I think. I said, it's an ingenious musical array of dazzling voices and sophisticated instrumentation, at times featuring several Disney-like themed arrangements and an epic finale. A captivating album indeed. 5 stars. What do you think about the Disney thing?
Well, I don't mind that, see, because it's because for me everything is about melody.
Mhm.
So and the song and the hook. So with Disney songs, okay, it's a bit sort of twee, but those songs will play in your head.
Yes.
Do you
Right.
mean? And that's for me when it comes to prog. I think so many bands forget about the song and the hook and the melody, and it's they're too worried about playing a million miles an hour and
Exactly.
in all these weird time signatures. And the song is so important. And I think what Cyan has got, and with Magenta, I'm a songwriter first. I'm not a whiz kid that can play in all these weird time signatures. I write songs with choruses
Right.
and bridges, and I think that's what Genesis had. That's what Pink Floyd had. They had
Mhm.
great songs. They could play in some weird tempos and stuff, but that was not what it was about. It was about the killer
Exactly.
song. So I think to be compared to Disney is I'll take that, because I wish I'd written one Disney song because I'd be in a gold house.
Yes.
So do you know what I mean?
I think you could do it. You guys could definitely do it.
We just write songs, and I'm blessed to have one of the best vocalists ever.
She's incredible.
Pete,
She's
Pete
incredible.
Jones is vocal,
Yeah.
and the girl we got singing on
Yes.
it, and that combination with those melodies,
Right.
I'll take that every day. That's what I spend my life looking for the hook, looking for the melody.
One of my favorite albums has always been Trick of the Tail by Genesis.
Oh.
I talked to Steve Hackett, and Entangled and songs like that, they were actually thinking about Mary Poppins. So there you go.
No, absolutely. You can hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear it. That's what it's, one of my, now we're on to the subject of this. One of my favorite films and soundtracks is The Sound of Music.
Right.
Because every song is a killer hook. It might be twee, whatever, but those melodies and the chords. Oh my God, and a Trick of the Trail, as you said, Ripples. For me, that's the most melodic. That's a God's gift of melody. That is, to get that emotion. Oh, so yeah, I'll take Mary Poppins and Disney. I'll take that all day.
Very, very whimsical. Very whimsical. Yeah. Nick Barrett. I had Nick on the show not long ago. He's such a cool guy, and I didn't realize what a great surfer the guy is.
Yeah.
He's looking more and more like a California surfer dude, isn't he?
No, absolutely.
And the story with Nick and you guys, he kind of found the band in a way, right?
He did, because back in when I was doing Cyan.
Right.
When I was in school, and when I made the first album and stuff, prog was a real dirty word. Back in the early 90s and late 80s, prog was a dirty word. Nobody wanted to be a prog band.
Yeah.
And they came out the same time as Marillion, Pendragon, and It Bites. And I loved Pendragon. I absolutely adored, because they were writing these melodic songs, especially the first album, which is my Bible. And we were in school, and we all put our pocket money together to get enough money to record our first demo in a studio. And that was magical, walking into a studio and going, oh my God, it was only 4 tracks, but we recorded this demo. We went into the control room, and it was like, my God, we sound like Genesis. Do you know what I mean? It was like we were in school, and it was a dream come true. But we made this demo on a cassette, and I just sent them out to a few people I knew. And I'd sort of joined the Pendragon fan club, and I sent it to Nick. And about 6 months after I'd sent it to him, he wrote me a letter saying, "Oh, I love these songs." He said, "It's really melodic, and it's done very primitive recordings." But he said, "I love them." And then I didn't hear nothing from him. And a year later, I had a message from a Dutch record label saying that Nick had sent the cassette to them, and they were like, "We love this. Can you make a whole album?" But the problem was, all the band had left school and they'd all gone their separate ways, and I was the only one. So I had to make this album on my own. So I had to play the guitars and bass, and drum machine, and I sang on the I sang on the first record, and I'm no singer, and again, so when I came to re-record it and Pete sang the songs, he was like, "Oh my God," and it showed how good the songs were. And what I like about them, compared to now, when I wrote those songs back in the 80s and early 90s when I was in school, I was so innocent, and like the whole music industry hadn't taken chunks out of me. And so I was writing them with I weren't thinking, oh, what do the fans want? Is this record going to sell? Should I do this? Should I do that? Which is what's in my head now. Then he was just like, I want to be Genesis. I want to be like that band on stage. And it was such an innocence to those songs, which I love. And I wish I could write like that now. But I can't, because I got the scars on my back of the music industry for 30 years.
This album is great, though. I love it. Of course, Broken Man is a video. It's an excellent video. Peter Jones, like you said, he's got an incredible voice. And I'm jealous because he also plays in Camel, which is one of my favorite bands as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is cool.
Well, that was it, and Pete, for me, as I said, in prog, there are two things which people sometimes overlook, and that's the song and the melody and the chorus. But the biggest thing is the vocalist.
Yep.
It's like, as long as the guitar is going a million miles an hour, or the drummer's playing zillion miles an hour, then everyone will ignore this terrible vocalist. And a lot of bands don't think, or they don't write the right music to suit the vocalist. They'll have a metal prog band with a female singer that is just being swallowed up by the music.
Right.
So for me, the vocalist is everything. It's what people listen to and connect to. And I spend my whole life looking for singers. And so I'm lucky with in Magenta, I've got Christina, who's a fantastic female singer.
Yep.
And Pete, who I think is one of the best male singers.
He is.
So, and that's why he's singing in Camel and playing, because he's a fantastic keyboard player, sax player.
Yeah, he blew me away with that sax, man. When I saw him on YouTube, wow.
Well, that was it. I saw the gig with Camel, and he was getting standing ovations after every time he'd just be playing the keyboard and he'll pick up the sax, and just blow people away.
It's unbelievable. A lot of people may not know, but Pete is blind, and for somebody to do that without sight, I mean, it's it makes you think about yourself, doesn't it? Why can't I do this? I mean, if Pete can do it without sight,
it is. But I think everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses, and I think and for me, again, I think you've got to bury the ego. I think all musicians have got a little bit of an ego. Some people got loads of ego.
Yeah.
I love it. I love when someone comes to me and plays something better than me, or brings something better to the table. I love that. Or someone proves me wrong, or gives me an idea. So, if Pete comes in and he's playing this amazing, I give him all free rein on the album, and people come in with sax stuff, and I go, God, that's not what I thought should go there, but that's brilliant. Yeah. I'll take that. It makes the record better.
It does.
And that's what I like about the band that we've got at the moment, because we've got Luke on guitar that plays with It Bites and stuff, and he's an amazing guitarist as well. So, the whole lineup, and the bass player, we got Dan, is fantastic, and the drummer. I just love having, and they're all nice people as well, because that's the biggest thing in a band. It's like, I'm too old to put up with any arseholes.
I know.
You know what I mean? Oh my God. I don't want anyone like that. I don't want any problems.
Pete and Christina blend very well together too. They do a good job together. Yeah. Yeah,
they're fantastic. They're all, I'm just blessed with these singers, and it's a great combination with them all. And yeah.
But you get on Broken Man, you all actually have, how do you pronounce her name? Her last name is Bryn.
Angharad. It's a Welsh name.
Oh, that's what. See,
Angharad. Yeah, it's really strange, but
yeah,
but she's a really good, you know, she's like angelic. She's very angelic and folky and sort of floats above everything, which I love. It's got this innocence, and then Pete is giving it large.
Yep.
You know, it's a lovely tool to have in the armory, in the musical armory.
I hope you bring her back for the next album. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. She's in the band. She's part of the band, really.
Man, you got a lot of weapons, with her, Christina, man.
Well, I just love it. There's such talent around that, that's the thing with it, and it's just bringing it all together, which I love doing in different combinations.
That Broken Man, I put a little note to myself. It reminds me of Genesis / Big Train.
Well, we all thing is we're all reading from the Genesis hymn book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where it's coming from. We're all there, and we're all like. But then I will pull in a lot of, there's Genesis in it, but I was a massive It Bites fan. But I love ABBA, I love ELO. Right. And I'll put in. I'll go, God, yeah, let's put a bit of that in there, or a bit of Supertramp, and that's what makes my musical DNA, and I think we all got
everybody,
everyone sort of they don't lift from other people, but that's the music you like and you want to hear, so yeah.
No, the Cyan actually has their own style, 100%. I think
the combination. It's the combination. Yeah.
One thing, Pictures from the Other Side. Now, this is different. When I'm saying that you go off prog and you get into other things, it kind of reminded me. It started out a little bit like the Moody Blues, but then do you know the band Firefall?
No, go on.
Firefall. Listen to a couple of Firefall records. It's and they're more of a kind of a commercial band, but they're yacht rock. The yacht rock.
Yeah. I love a bit of yacht rock.
That's what it reminds me of, man. Then it's a little Jerry Rafferty in there.
Yeah, with the sax. Yeah.
You guys can do anything. You can do commercial. You can, there's all kinds of genres that you guys fit into.
Yeah. Well, there's lots. I remember when I wrote that song, I was very, very much influenced, which is bizarre. When I wrote it 20 years ago, I was influenced by the Camel, by the Snow Goose.
Yeah, that's a great album.
It was lots of that, and which is quite weird. Then when Pete comes in and is singing and playing in the band, and I'm like, I want it to sound like Camel in the middle, but without the flute. Play it on the sax, and. It was very much that, and the Hammond organ in the middle section is like Pete Barnes and thing. It's whatever I was listening to around the period and would come into me. But I think a bit of yacht rock again. They are great songs. I love a bit of Michael McDonald.
Yeah,
Michael McDonald, what a voice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Talk about Solitary Angel. It's a beautiful track, and there's some really good guitar work on that track.
Yeah, it's that's again. All these songs have undergone a lot of rewriting. Because when I did the original albums back in the 90s, whatever. Now they come to me now, and I'm thinking, right, okay, that middle section is a bit weak. Let's cut that out, completely write the new middle section, and then I think, well, I got one of the best guitarists. Let's put on big guitars. Let's put a big Pink Floyd section in there, and let him rip on it. And with Solitary Angel, we added 2 big guitar solos in it. And I just sent him these 30 bars, and I said, just put something in there. And Luke plays. He can play a million miles an hour, but he also writes melodies. So it's a hook. All the guitar solos, like Steve Hackett, they were always melodic, hooky. Guitar solos, but that one, I definitely added a bit of guitarage in there just to give it an extra dynamic. But that's quite. But the whole album, even the running order, that song, you've had the first two tracks are Hell for Leather. That drops down and gives you a bit of a breather because otherwise you feel like you've been hit over the head.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely a bit of a breather.
Well, the next two tracks are my favorite. And the next two tracks are what reminds me of a Disney song, Follow the Flow.
Yeah.
You know, beautiful. You know, it's also cinematic. You know, and also epic. You know, epic, cinematic, Disney. It all comes to mind when I hear these two tracks. I Follow the Flow is a beautiful tune, man. I love that.
Yeah,
it is great. And you know, this next one, we got Tomorrow's Never Know. It's a New Day Yesterday from Jethro Tull, and now we have Tomorrow's Here Today.
Yes, tell me, yes, yeah. Don't waste time. Get on with it because it's here today.
That's a new one. Nobody ever thought about that one.
I know. I know, but that track out of all of the whole album, that's completely changed. I basically took the melody from the original track. Pete sang it to completely different chords, and I was listening to it and I thought, I don't like this. It can be better. And I just stripped all the chords off it and completely changed the chords. So when Pete heard the finished track, he's like, "What have you done? Where's the track on?" Like, "Oh, but it's much better. It's more intense now, you know." And so the chords at the beginning are completely different to the vibe of the original. But which I love to do, and it's so powerful now. But the Follow the Flow track, again, I love John Williams, Hans Zimmer, Ennio Morricone. I love all those big film. You know, that's whoa, you know. So I always bring a bit of that to the table as well, especially in those tracks.
See, it shows. I know it.
Yeah, you well spotted.
I knew you're a cinema guy. You know, I've read some of the reviews on this album, and there's a lot of people that don't get it. They stick to their prog mind. It doesn't. You know, it's not prog. It's a. You know, they don't know music. You know, I know all the genres. I was a top 40 DJ back in the late 70s.
Yeah.
I grew up with my dad with Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, Johnny Mathis. You know, Shirley Bassey. You know.
Oof. Yeah,
I knew all these cats, you know what I mean? Nat King Cole. So I know good music when I hear it. You can't put music in a category like they do. You can't. You really can't. No. You got to listen to it as, you know, like you said, listen to the vocals, listen to the music.
Yeah.
You know, just enjoy it. You know, don't categorize it. And this album's terrific. I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was a great album.
Lovely.
It really is. Now you had these 2 Disney tunes, and then you go and close the album.
Yes.
Kind of a rock opera.
Yeah. It is. It's Jim Steinman. It's you know, it's Battle to Hell. It's got everything. And again, I extended it from the original and like rewrote it and couldn't stop basically. So it's like 70 minutes long, and then at the very end of it, as you know, it goes into Carmela Burana, which is the sort of Omen vocal from the film. You know, it's the classical piece at the end, which we had to recreate. It just goes to another level, really. But again, I you know, it's what I was writing, it's what I love, and I'm not afraid to go there. You know, and we I think we pull it off. You know, and Pete had such fun singing that. You know, when he sent me the vocal, I was just weak. I just thought, this is so brilliant. I love the size of it, you know, and yeah.
Well, the great thing about this, you also got a DVD with it,
yes,
which is incredible, you know, and it's in 5.1 surround.
Yep.
You have live acoustic performance. You have I Defy the Sun, Don't Turn Away, Call Me, Man Amongst Men, of course, The Sorcerer, which is a real favorite, Snowbound, and of course, For King and Country. And I haven't seen the video yet, but I want to see the video. That's next. Yeah.
Well, the video shows that the songs actually, even without all the production, you can actually play them on the piano with a singer, and they actually stand up the songs, which
great.
which a lot of music you can't do with, a lot of
Right.
overproduced stuff. So it was good to show that side, really. And I love 5.1 mixes. I love doing. It's a format I really like. And the music lends itself to those big surround mixes. So I do them. But the weird thing, on just as a side note, on the album, originally there was another 2 tracks on the album. Back in the 90s, there was a track called Guardians and a track called All Around the World. And because I was extending all these tracks all the time, I ended up with like about 80 minutes worth of music. And I thought, shit, it's too much for one sitting. Because they would like, and this last track, The Guardians, which originally was 11 minutes long, became 25 minutes. And I thought, how the hell can I put that on a record alongside Nosferatu at 17? So what we're going to do, oops, that's my keyboard. What we're going to do is we're going to release a mini album with these 2 tracks next year, which will have this 25-minute monster on it.
Wow.
And this extra track. So there's more to come in March.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Any chance of Cyan doing a tour or some dates or?
Yeah, so we did a couple of dates this year just to see how it would go and what it would be like. And the reaction was amazing because, like, again, Pete, apart from being all those brilliant players, is an incredible frontman. His gift to the gab, his banter, his communications with the audience is brilliant. He's got such cheek and there's so much warmth and love for him. And we've done gigs and he just raises it to another level. And the band is brilliant. All the players, I just sit back and let them all play. And it's fantastic. So next year we're looking at getting a run of dates to play, because we've got 2 albums worth to play now. We can much more to pick from. I'm looking forward to playing some of this, like Nosferatu, trying to play it live, and so that'll be next year, definitely.
Oh, this album's going to sound great live.
Yeah,
it's going to sound incredible. And now, what about Magenta? What's happening there? I know you guys put out The White Witch, and you did a live album, right? Reaching for the Moon.
Yeah, we've been, it's because I've sort of been doing this Cyan thing for the last couple of months.
Right.
So, and again, as I said at the very beginning, I like to rest each of these projects. So when I come back to them, I'm enthused to go back to it, So Magenta, I'd rested that for the last 6 months to do this Cyan project. Now I'm enthused to go back, and we've got an idea for the new Magenta record, which I'm excited about, like a full band with orchestra kind of thing. It's going to be a real monster, and that's going to come out. It's early days. I've written it, but I haven't started recording it. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm excited about that now for next year. That'll be then.
Incredible. I got to tell you, man, that White Witch movie that you put on, that is cool.
Well, I love filmmaking. See, I love making music, but I also love directing, and I'm such a fan of all those old horror films. I love the Hammer horror films and the 70s and the 60s horror films. So, I love making that. It was fantastic to me, and I want to make a longer film. I'd love to make a long, full-length film at some point, but it's finding the time to do everything. It's just,
The White Witch, I got to ask you though, did when the witch died, when they burnt her, did she come back into the girl's body? Did she? Yes,
that's exactly what. Okay. When we made the video, that was one of the very last things we shot, and it was going to end with her smiling, And I thought, no, have her looking demonic, as if she's coming back into, and well spotted. So that's awesome. That was great. That was a good twist to put at the end. Really,
definitely. You must have loved Game of Thrones.
I do. I love all that fantasy, Lord of the Rings stuff. And all that genre. And I just love filmmaking, and it's because it's so close to music making. You film it all, you put it together, and it's very similar to music. And these days with the cameras are so, the quality is so amazing on these cameras, and the technology to edit. So, and it's such a big part of selling your music to have all these promo videos.
That's right.
And I like everything I do to be as good as I can.
Yeah.
I think the fans appreciate it, and it makes you, look better and stand out from the crowd, really. So,
the White Witch was a big hit. The movie that you did. I saw a lot of great feedback.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, definitely. You got to keep doing that. You're good at it.
I will.
I want to mention some of my Magenta favorites, and here's where you go off Prague, and you really surprised me. The song "Because," that could be a jazz standard, right? People need to dig deep into you guys, and it's incredible. Your music is awesome, man.
Well, I remember me and Tina wrote that in the studio up here.
Really?
I was just messing around with a Fender Rhodes sound, and she sang it. I thought, oh my God, I love this. And then we had the band playing it because we went to Peter Gabriel's studio, Real World.
Right.
And we had a couple of days in there, and we set up and we played as a band, and we did that track, and he was like, oh, this is really nice. And she sang it in one take. It was live, and I thought, as you said, like a jazz standard, really. But it's not a million miles away from Pink Floyd. What they would do, they would always have a smoothie, laid back jazz kind of feel and stuff. So
sure. Well, it all kind of mixes in anyway. Fusion, jazz, R&B. Sometimes R&B and country kind of crossover. That's where you get Lionel Richie and Kenny Rogers. That's how that worked, and I love that. I love when that happens, Spectral Mornings. You had David Longden, and I was so sad when he passed away because he had such an incredible voice,
Yep.
I had Big Train on not long ago, all the guys from there, and they introduced me to the new singer, and he's excellent too, but I love Spectral Mornings because you got David and you got Peter, on that song.
It was that was, oh God, it was so sad, because David was a friend, and working on that song, we became good friends, and because I had the idea of doing that because I knew that when Steve Hackett wrote that back in the late 70s, that he did think about it being a song, and I'd read in an interview. So it was always in the back of my mind thinking, what would it sound like? What would it sound like? And I went to David and I said, look, how about having a crack at doing this with you singing it? You write the words and we'll try it. Let's see what happens. And he came down with Christina as well, and he'd written these beautiful lyrics. And as soon as he sang it, I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. But we were sitting there thinking, right, this sounds great, but we're gonna have to run it past Steve Hackett.
Right.
Because if he says, oh no, because it's like, Spectral Mornings is such a massive standard and an iconic piece. But we did a version of it and sent it to Steve, and he loved it. He was like, oh yeah, and we did it for a charity record as well. And then, me and David then produced it, and we were lucky we had Nick Beggs to play bass on it, and Nick de Virgilio to play drums on it, and Pete sang on it as well with Christina. And we did this mad version of it, and we were like, once we had the okay to do it, it was like, oh right, okay, let's put some electronics on there. and I thought it's got to have a guitar solo on it. So I went back to Steve and I said, will you play the guitar solo on it? And he was like, yeah. But when I sent him the backing, we changed the key for the singing, so he had to play it in a different one. And then we did the guitar, and I thought, oh my God, this is just lovely. And then I had to go back to him again and say, will you come and be in the video? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. Because the best thing about Steve, like I've done a lot. I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of my heroes,
Right.
and some of them are a pain in the ass.
Right. Right.
But Steve is absolutely a gentleman,
He is.
lovely,
Yeah.
and God, if I've still got that friendliness and encouragement that at his age after doing whatever he's done, that's what I want to be like, because he is lovely. He is so accommodating and encouraging. So we did this track, and then we put it out, and again we didn't know what people would think of it because it was so iconic, but it flowed everyone. And I listen to it now, and it's like it's it's brilliant, but it hurts as well.
I
And I
know.
think because of the lyric of it and what happened to David, and it was like, oh, it was so tragic, really. But his legacy, what a
Yeah.
legacy left
I know.
behind of songs, and he was one of the best.
Yes.
He was a front man,
Yep.
amazing vocalist, but above all, a lovely, lovely person.
Yeah.
That's all I can say, really. Yeah.
He had so much more to give, though, I think.
Oh.
He really did. He was just warming up.
Oh, that was it. And I could see it. And I wished him the best. And I just wanted him to, I could see it happening, and he was loving it. And then, when the news came through, I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't believe it. All right. I'm going to blow you away on this tune. King of the Skies.
Right.
King of the Skies
Yeah.
is a country hit.
Oh
I swear, that's a country hit. And I bet you, if you sell that to Nashville, you're going to get somebody big recording that, and you'll make a ton of money.
I agree. I agree, because again, he goes back to me. I'm a songwriter. That's why I'm at heart. And I can hear that. I can hear that with with all the slide guitar on it and the country rock beat on it.
Guaranteed, man.
I would love that. And more than welcome to anybody record if somebody wants to record that in a country vein, because that's a massive market. That is,
Yes, it is.
Country rock. Oof.
You got to take a trip to Nashville.
That song.
Definitely, man.
It could work. I can see it. I never thought about it, but you're right. It could work.
I heard it right away. I said, that's a big country hit.
Okay.
Talk about Samuel Lane and that tune. That's a very interesting song. The Ballad of Samuel Lane.
Yeah, that was from the album Metamorphosis.
Right.
And it was up until that point, because with Magenta, I always like to sort of shake it up a little bit after each album. And like the first two were very prog, then the third one, Home, was like sort of more like Elton John and that sort of Fleetwood Mac song based.
Right.
And then Metamorphosis was like, right, I'm gonna do something really, really angular. And like we just played Nearfest festival in America, and we died a death because we weren't, because we are very song based, we're very melodic. So
sure. And
the rest of the bands playing in Nearfest were very technical. It was like Magma and Alan Holdsworth. So it was very angular. And we come on and played these songs, and people were like, "Where's the prog? Where's the show? Where's the wiggle?" And we were like, "No, we're songs. We do songs." So I came back from there, and I thought, right, I'll show everyone. I'll write something so complicated and so angular. And that's what we did with that. And it's almost impossible to play it live because it's so all over the place, tempos and stuff. But I love the song. It's got a lovely, it's all about the war and pointlessness of it all. And it's so emotional in the middle part where Tina's singing.
Right.
When it drops right down, it's a lovely song. And that album, when it first came out, people were like, what are you doing? But now people go back and say, "Oh, that's my favorite. I love that album," and I'm like, "Oh my God," at the time he didn't like it. It was too heavy and too weird. You can't win. So
I know, you can't win, right?
No, you can't.
I had all the guys from Emerson, Lake and Palmer on the show.
Yep.
including Keith Emerson. He was a great guy.
Yep.
But I wish, and you're talking about vocals, I wish there were more vocals, in that band, because every song they did with Greg Lake singing, was huge, from the beginning, and Lucky Man, and but and I wish they would have done a lot more of the vocals with Greg Lake.
But that's it, because out of all I was never an Emerson, Lake and Palmer fan.
Right.
And I couldn't get it because of that reason.
Right.
I couldn't, I admire, as a keyboard player, I admire Keith Emerson. He was the best, he was incredible. But I find it hard. I get worn down. And if I don't get a melody or a hook.
Me too. I'm the same way.
I'm like, what's the point?
What's the point?
I admire how clever it is.
Yeah.
But boy, you find then it's other musicians who enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, and that's not my kind of prog or whatever. I'm more of a song kind of guy,
I'm with you on that. There was too much of that intricate prog going on with the with the heavy organ, and
there's a place for it, and if people like it, then great. But it's not what floats my boat, and
But Greg was such a great vocalist. He was such
there's some great vocalists. Him and John Wetton.
John. Oh yeah.
What a voice.
Yeah.
What a voice. The Asia. Yeah. That was another one of my sort of go-to albums. The first Asia album. Yeah. I loved it.
I love the Red album. With King Crimson.
Yeah. Oh, again. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah. All right. Here's another Disney track by Magenta. Gift from God.
God, you're pulling these out. I got to remember the song now.
Gift from God was another kind of Disney feeling, I guess.
Well, it's Disney because it's just because it's so because it's mellow, I think, and it's got the lovely lush.
It's like a soundtrack. It's a sound. Yeah, it's like
Well, I think I'm sure Tony Banks used to get the same. It was his Disney chords, wasn't it? Or his, as you said, his musical chords he would throw in.
Definitely.
But I think when I wrote that, I obviously been listening to Ripples a lot because it's quite similar in its feel, but I just love the way that you have a soft verse and then it opens up to this lovely chorus.
Yeah.
And we had John Mitchell to sing harmonies from with the guy from Frost, and he sang harmonies on it with Tina, which sounded lovely on that track. But yeah, it's just a melodic track.
I'm so glad Steve's doing all the Genesis material.
Yeah.
Because Peter Gabriel doesn't, That's the only thing I don't understand why he doesn't,
Oh, it's God knows, isn't it? With all these bands, you question them all, you look at it, you thinking, what's going on in everyone's head? The same with Pink Floyd. You go, what is going on in these people's heads? It's like you want them to put it all aside before they're all too old and die.
Exactly.
And go and do something, But there you are.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to get together, and the band Heart. I've been trying to get them back together.
Oh,
and also Grand Funk, but they're too stubborn. They won't do it. It's a shame. It really is.
Yeah, I think it's like a marriage. That's what it is. Being in a band. Yeah. I think once you fall out, that's it. It's very hard to amend it.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
The fans suffer.
They do.
Yeah,
they do, I think, again. Yeah.
Yep. I want to mention your solo projects. You had the Ringmaster Part 1. Yep. Ringmaster, you had Simon Phillips, Simon's getting around a lot. He's getting with Steve Hackett playing on a lot of people's albums all of a sudden too.
Yes, well, this is the good thing a good thing, with the internet, everyone's available and within reason, I think as long as you go to these people with the right vibe and with some good music,
right,
they're up for doing it, and like Simon Phillips, I think is one of the best, if not the best drummer. He's fantastic, and I was a massive fan of what he did on the Mike Oldfield albums in the 80s, and his playing with the Who and Pete Townsend and things. I love his style and his sound. So when, I approached him as a fanboy, and I said, look, I'm making these solo albums, which is in the style of Mike Oldfield. And, you're the best drummer that I know. Would you fancy playing it? And he was like, send me your demos so I can listen to it, which he did. And he did it. So I think I've done 3 albums with him now. And again, he's lovely. He's a lovely, genuine person that is happy to be relevant and to be playing with people. And the thing with Simon is like when the drums come through and you put them all in the line, all the tracks, all the levels, and it just sounds like Simon Phillips. It's instant. Yeah. I'm going to touch it because he's a great engineer and a producer. Yep. So he plays the part correctly and it sounds immaculate. So, I love the fact that of working with him. That was a highlight and still is.
I was supposed to have him on the show. He just did an album with Derek Sherinian.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a really good album. I haven't listened to it yet.
I'm new to it. I've heard the Protocol stuff he does. His band, which is lovely, and that's very fusiony. But again, he got some great tunes in it, which I can go with that really.
Right. Well, you did Ringmaster Part 2. That was in 2022. Is there going to be some more solo stuff? You're so busy. I'm just like,
it's. Well, I think my music and calendar is. I'm looking at it. It's going to be, the Cyan album's out this month up to Christmas.
Right.
And I've got. Then it's the bonus CD of the Cyan. That long track is coming out in March.
Okay, March.
And then a new Sanctuary album, my solo album, which I'm working on at the moment.
Awesome.
So that's coming out next year. And then the Magenta at the end of the year. So I can,
wow.
But I love it. I love it. I can't stop. I'm addicted to doing it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Here's another song I like, and another guy you brought in, Barry Palmer, and Crime of Passion. Oh my gosh, that's a beautiful tune, man.
Yeah, again, goes back to my Mike Oldfield, love of Mike Oldfield as an artist, and he's a massive inspiration to me, and that's why I learned to play all the instruments and all that. But he did that track back in the 80s with Barry, and it was more of a toe tapper. It was like a straight rock tune.
Right.
I spoke to Barry. I've sort of come to know him. And I said, hey, do you fancy doing it? A new version, but a much more dramatic, much more, make more of the chords. And he was like, yeah, send me a demo. And I sent it to him. And he was like, oh my God, you've transformed the song. And he sang it and he came down. We did a video and everything. And it's done really well. And it was just nice to do, and lovely people again. He's great, and they're all my heroes. So it's like my bucket list.
He's got a great voice.
Oh, lovely voice. Yeah.
Then after all these bands you got going on, you did a thing called Kompendium.
Yes.
Massive project. Oh my gosh.
Well, that was back. I did that about 12, 13 years ago. I did that.
It's an incredible project.
It was like, I think it was a bit of a midlife crisis. And I think I just thought that, because it's really weird. Back then, none of these artists were playing on other people's records.
Right.
It was like, it was before everyone played on everyone's records. So to get Steve Hackett playing on your record was a big, big thing. And I'd written this concept album, this story, and I had one of my friends come in to sing it, who used to sing with John Lord and Alan Parsons' project, called Steve Balsamo. And he got one of the best voices. And I had these demos, and I thought, right, I'm going to make a record, which is like, it's going to be like War of the Worlds, or a real concept album like Journey to the Center of the Earth, whatever.
Sure.
And nobody had done an album at that point, or back about 15 years ago. And I thought, right, I'm going to go through all my record collection. Who do I want on my record? And where do I want to record it? And it was basically, I just went, right, Steve Hackett, right, Francis Dunnery, right, okay, Nick Beggs, Gavin Harrison, all these people, Jacko Jaksic, and then I wanted to go to Abbey Road. I wanted an orchestra. I wanted a choir. I wanted the guy to do the cover who did the War of the Worlds album.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that played the pedal steel was the guy that played on Elton John Tiny Dancer. And I thought, and it was like, it cost me a fortune, but but nobody had the balls to do this kind of record. And I was doing a lot of music for TV and film.
Right.
I had the money to do it, and I thought, I'm going to just do it. And it was just like one person would open their sort of their black book of who they knew, and I'd be on to the next.
Very cool.
I went to Nick Beggs, and he said, "Well, I'm playing in Steve Hackett's band. Do you want him to play on it?" He was like, "Yeah." And next thing, I was speaking to Steve Hackett, and then it was like Jacko Jaksic was like, "Do you want Dave Stewart from National Health and to do the string arrangements?" And I was like, "Yeah." And Gavin Harrison from King Crimson, and it was all this, and it was incredible to just sit in the studio with all these different people and having their parts come onto the record.
Mm-hmm.
Just made this lovely lush, like there's very little of me on there. I wrote it all and played the keyboards, but I love the fact that everything else was other people's talent on there. And it was a hell of a work. It was like 2 years and a load of money, but it was the best thing I've ever done, and it opened the doors for me and it raised my profile, and it was, and I've got I got like a Kompendium 2, which I've written.
Really?
Yeah, I've got it on my hard drive, but I haven't got the energy. I need the energy and the time to go, right, I'm going to spend 2 years making another big album.
You're going to make a list of the people you want on this one?
Oh, the problem is, I've either worked with them or they're all dying, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like all the older guys.
I tell you what, I have a huge list, and I know all the PR people. I can send you my list.
Oh,
if there's anybody you don't know, I can work on it for you.
Oh,
I can help you out.
Yeah, and I think people who are not necessarily prog.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't have to be prog
artist. I want like some of the great guitarists who don't play prog, but you put them on a record, on a symphonic track. It's like, oh, so there's still a long list, but just got to find the energy to do it. It's like, oh.
Well, one of my favorites you had was Mel Collins.
Oh,
Mel, man, it's
he's played on everything, and I loved his playing on the Camel stuff, on Clanad. He did a lot of stuff on there, and that came about because I was introduced to Jacko Jaksic, who sings with King Crimson.
Yeah,
and I went up to his studio, and he knows everybody. It's like his black book and his storytelling of working with people was brilliant. And he said, "Oh, do you want Mel Collins? He lives down the road." And I was like, yeah, I want Mel Collins. And he was like, oh, and he knew Nick Beggs. And he was like, so we'd had Mel come in and played sax on it. And straight away, it was like, oh my God, I can hear Camel in the 80s. I can hear Clanad. And he just played on so many records.
Yeah.
And I love lovely, lovely person.
I know a lot of people. I know Annie Haslam from Renaissance.
Yeah.
Mark Farner from Grand Funk.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
He'd be a good guitar player to have.
I'll be coming with a shopping list.
I know Susie Quattro.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I know a lot of people. So
but these people are still relevant, and they've done so much. And
yep.
And they come from an era where they could actually play and sing. Yep. It wasn't all done with a computer. They could actually do it,
exactly.
Which I love. I love all that. So
yeah,
I'll be coming back to you.
I'm friends with Corky Lang. He was a drummer for Mountain.
Yeah. God, yeah.
We had lunch together not long ago. Yeah, I got a long list I can give you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, man. Steve played on Lily, and you had your singer. Again, I can't pronounce her name. Angharad Bryn, which I love her. She's great.
Yeah.
And some of my Mercy of the Sea was beautiful. Beneath the Waves. you get that a lot of that Celtic
Yeah.
theme music going on, which it's incredible. That's
Yeah. Yeah. And we had,
man, I'm really looking forward to the second one. If you
well,
complete that
yeah,
one,
I've written it. It sounds great as a demo, but it's like, oh my God, it's so much work to do.
yeah,
It took me forever to do it, um, and it cost a lot to do
yeah,
it.
that's the thing. Yeah,
But it
it
was
does
worth,
cost a
but
lot.
it was worth it because the end product
Yeah,
and the way we presented it we had it on double vinyl, and it was a booklet, and it was like, we went to great lengths to do it, and that was the first time I'd worked with Steve, and I thought rather than getting him to play electric guitar solo, we asked him to play like a nylon solo, and he loved that. He was like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I'd love to do that." And he came over to Real World then to do a video for the track, and that was great. So yeah,
I
great.
I had Devin Townsend on the show recently.
Yep.
Malcolm Bruce, Jack's son. He's a really, really nice guy. Kenny Wayne Shepherd, great guitar player. I mean, I'm just thinking of some of the people I had on recently. Dave Kersner.
Yeah, Dave.
Good guy, prog guy. All these guys would probably play on your album. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's getting all these good combinations, which I like.
Yeah.
People who don't normally play
exactly
in the same band. And
how about Billy Cobham on drums? I know Billy.
Oh, now we talking. Jesus.
He'd probably do it.
Yeah. I think everyone's up to playing on good music. I think if there's good songs there, they'll come and do it. So I've just got to find the time. At the moment, the next year is planned out. Like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you do it, man. I don't know how you do it. Well, you did a one album thing, I think, with the band called Fireworks, right?
God, that's going back. Yeah,
that's way back. Yeah.
God, yeah.
Yeah. I got to throw in everybody that you've been, associated with. Yeah. So whatever happened to that with Fireworks?
Well, we did an album. That was a long time ago. That was like during the sort of Cyan. That was pre Magenta.
Right.
And it was really nice because we did it in the old school way of all playing together and all that kind of stuff, all in the studio with old instruments and stuff. Like we wrote a second album, and again, I've got the demos for it, but we can't get everyone back together. Everyone's sort of gone their own way. And it's like, and I've only got so much time, so I'm like, I got to prioritize and go, right, what's a priority? And
priority.
New Magenta record, that's a priority.
Yeah.
And so it's just finding time for everything. And I can't delegate. That's the problem. There's only one of me. Yeah. So I can't.
Well, you got a lot of Magenta fans, so
I'm really lucky that I think, I count my blessings every day that I'm allowed to do music.
Right.
And everything I put out, it's like an agreement. There's a contract between me and the fans that buy the music that I will I will spend every penny I can on it to make it as good as I can and sound and look as good in return for that. So it's like the old patronage back in the day where the kings would pay for musicians to write their music, and it's the fans do it and they allow me to make these records, and whatever I do, thankfully they'll give it a go, and hopefully they're not disappointed. And they'll go, we love this. It's done to a good quality, and we'll buy whatever you do, and and it's a great arrangement, and I love it. I'm so lucky.
Well, I'll get you on the show every time you put out something new, so we can promote.
Yeah. No, I'd love that
for sure. All right, Rob. Here's your last question. I ask this question to everybody, and I get some really interesting answers. If you had a Field of Dreams wish, like the movie, that was one of my favorite movies, to perform with, to collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be?
Oh my God. That's a tough one. Oh God. It's a weird one because I think it's like people say you shouldn't sort of play or meet your heroes. So I'd always be weary. I'd love to be in the room with Mike Oldfield. in music. I don't think I'd like
Okay.
to collaborate, but I'd love to watch. I'd love to watch what he does and what he did and stuff. But who the person I would love to play on my stuff who was not with us anymore is Chris Squire.
Yeah.
I think I love his singing and I love his
Me
bass
too.
playing. I love both. You know, his solo album, Fish Out of Water, and everything he did with I love Drama. Like Drama is my favorite Yes album, which
Hmm.
is almost sacrilege, but it's like I love because you can hear Chris singing on it along with Trevor Horn. But I think Chris Squire, I would love to have him play. I think if he was around, he'd be top of my list of like I've
Yeah.
got to get this guy to play on my record.
Yeah.
I just I'm so influenced by his bass playing. What a guy! What a writer! What a everything!
I think that's my favorite album, Fish Out of Water. You know, I
Oh,
love that. I play it over and over and over again.
oh my
You know,
God! It's with
yeah,
Patrick Moraz playing on and Bill
yep,
Bruford. It's like wow, what a combination! And hearing say and allowing Chris's voice to come to the fore.
hmm,
I think people don't realize how much in Yes, there's so much of it's like
yeah,
Phil Collins with the backing vocals on the early Genesis.
yep,
There was a lot. He's got a lot, you know, but he brought so much to it. He brought the angst, the vocal arrangements. But
hmm.
I think, yeah, that's the person I miss the most. That I would love to have worked on a record.
I ta- I talked to Chris and I said, why don't you do Fish Out of Water too? And he just laughed. He thought it was ridiculous, actually. Yeah.
Oh my God!
I said, I'm serious, Chris. What are you laughing at?
Oh my God! You know, we all
Yeah,
want it. It's a weird thing.
exactly.
I think that's a strange thing from a band's point of view and a composer's point of view. Because from a fan point of view, I'm like, oh, I wish Yes would make Drama again. You know, obviously
Yeah,
they can't because Alan White's not with us and whatever.
I
But at the
know.
time, I wanted an album like that. And fans always want their favorite albums to be repeated. Whereas from a musician's point of view,
Right.
the last thing you want to do is copy what you've done, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
see it from both points of view. Like from a commercial point of view, a band should just do another record like that. But
Yeah.
then musicians don't want to repeat. So I can understand why he was a bit taken aback by it. But yeah, I wanted so much more. And
I know.
you know, he did a single with Alan White, a Christmas song called "Run with a Fox." I
Right.
don't know if you heard it, but check that out. And that goes in my top 3 favorite tracks of all time
Hmm.
because it was Chris Squire with a lovely arrangement, a Christmassy kind of tune
Hmm.
with Alan White playing drums. Oh my God, it was like I wanted a whole album like that, but they never did. They went and did 90125 then. I think that was the
Yeah.
next thing they did.
My
But
favorite Yes album was actually Relayer. You know, I love I
yeah,
love Rick Wakeman. He was on the show. He's great. You know, I love all his music. I love everything he did with Yes, but Relayer for some reason with
oh,
Patrick, you
oh,
know.
but out of all the keyboard players, like Rick Wakeman is good.
Yeah,
He is good. He's a fucking brilliant keyboard player, excuse my
right.
language. But Patrick Moraz is on another level
Yeah,
of technical. He's like
yeah.
Keith Emerson. I think he would beat Keith Emerson technically
Hmm.
because Patrick Moraz had the chops.
Yeah.
He had the jazz, the fusion to throw in it, and like the
Classical.
solo
Yeah.
on oh, what's the one he does? He does a solo on the Chris Squire album, doesn't he? On the Fish Out of Water, and he shreds on there, and it's like whoa! It's like the notes. Rick
Yeah.
Wakeman would never do that because he's a classical player,
He
which I
is.
love. But Patrick Moraz was like whoa, and on Relayer, whoa, they were out to go bonkers basically, and
Yeah.
like Gates of Delirium. Oh, what a tune!
Yeah, Patrick's he's a good guy too. I think he's a
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
underrated. You know, a bit
Oh,
underrated.
massively,
Yeah. It's a
massively.
shame. You know.
Yeah.
And he played with the Moody Blues too.
Yeah,
You
he
know,
did that for
besides Yes.
years and years. You know, after Yes, that he did
Yeah.
that longer, much longer than Yes, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's done a lot, you know. But you know, and people's people get forgotten, don't they, for what they
They
bring to the
do.
table.
They got to
He's,
do their homework. People got to do
yeah,
their homework more.
yeah, I agree.
Musicians. Well, I want to say very special thanks to Roy Avon of Royal Avenue Media for arranging this
Yep.
interview today with Robert Reed. You can pre-order the new album, Pictures from the Other Side, and it's available. Is it Tiger Moth hosting.co.uk? Or I guess just go to the where's the best place to get it right now? Is that it?
Tiger Moth Shop, all one word, .co.uk. That's the quickest
Tiger
way.
Moth. Okay.
Tiger Moth Shop, all one word, .co.uk. Or just look up Cyan, Pictures from the Other Side, CD. It's all there.
It's all there.
On the thing. But yeah, I think hopefully people will enjoy it. A lot of work went into it. So
great album.
Yeah.
Fantastic album. I really enjoyed it. You guys are on Facebook, Bandcamp. You can find all kinds of music on YouTube. And also Magenta Bandcamp and on Spotify as well. I'm listening all your discography for everything you've ever played, which is a long list.
Sorry.
I enjoy it. I love doing the my homework on
lovely.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you so much for being on the show today, Robert. I really
thank you for taking the time. Thank you.
And my best to you, the family, and I hope to see you in the States, one day soon.
Well, I'd love to do that. It's been a while since we've been over, so I'd love to do that.
Awesome. Take care, my friend.
All right, thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.